I think we're live. Here we are. Hello, welcome everybody to another episode of Money Moves. We're on episode 162 here on video, and we also have our podcast up and running. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever your favorite podcast streaming platform is. We are there, Money Moves. So, welcome back. Good to see you, John Cleaver.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Thanks for kicking us off today.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what to do if you're feeling behind financially, which it seems like that's a lot of people right now. I don't know how many people you've heard from recently that feel that way, but I think across the country, right, we have just the economy has shifted and people feel like they're drowning. And so we want to talk a little bit today about some different mindsets and different ways to think to help shift where you are today to where, focus on where you're going. So with that, do you want to say anything before I kick off with our first point here?
No, I say let's go. I mean, that's a lot of it. People are frustrated. I think, they're struggling with, how do I pay for everything? I mean, you go to the grocery store, it's just outrageous. The gas pump, it's outrageous depending on where you're at and things like that. And it's frustrating. And a lot of people, it's easy to just kind of throw up your hands and say, well, there's nothing I can do. And a lot of it, I don't know that that's the truth. I think a lot of it has to do with mindset and what you're doing. And really, we're all facing the same challenges, right? Costs have gone up, incomes may have gone up a little bit, but probably not enough to keep up with everything. So it's easy to fall into that. I don't want to say victim mentality, because I think that takes away the sting a little bit of what's really going on, because there is some reality to it. However, you don't want to just roll over. You want to knuckle up and do what you got to do to make things happen. There's a lot of ways to earn money and things like that, but it all has to go back to what's your mindset. How are you reacting to it? You got two ways to react to the situation: throw in the towel, or just, okay, we're going to figure it out and, try to find ways. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So I'm excited about this topic. I thought it was a good topic and I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So the first thing is really that, and we've talked about this before, but that scarcity versus abundance mindset. So the difference between being in a scarcity mindset where we feel like there's never enough, right? We're looking at the situation in the world right now going, it's never going to get better. Oh, now this strike's happening. This is happening, right? And we give the power away with that scarcity mindset to say that the circumstances, the way the wind blows is what controls things, right? Instead of that abundance mindset where we believe that opportunities are limitless, right? So changing that shift in mindset.
Well, I think a lot of it too with the scarcity mindset, again, it becomes like that guy from Lord of the Rings, right? My precious, and you kind of you react out of fear. You hoard your money or whatever the case may be, or you're just kind of really looking at things from a totally different perspective, and having that mindset of plenty. It's not just going out and spending money like you've got an endless stream of it. That's not what I'm talking about. But being intentional and taking control, but realizing that, if you've got things in place like a spending plan and things like that, where your money's at. And there are so many ways out there to make extra money. And one of the simple analogies I use with people is, are you the type of person that says, my parents used to say this to me when I was a kid, right? Oh, we can't afford that, or we can't afford to do that, or whatever the case may be. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that as well from your parents. But rather than shifting to that, shifting to how can we make that happen? Right? What do we need to do to make that happen? Well, we need a new roof on the house, or we need a new, okay, how can we make that happen? Rather than doing without, because, we can't afford it, or whatever the case may be. Now, that's not saying go out and rob a bank. It's not what I'm saying. But, finding ways, it's just, again, that little shift in mindset of finding the solution rather than just taking a hit at face value and saying, we can't do it because of X. Right.
Yeah. Instead of looking at the circumstances, look at the opportunity. I think is a great way.
Exactly.
To put that. So, all right. So the second one, a kind of a shift is, or a perspective that we come from sometimes is that financial conditioning or your early money experiences. And we've got to recognize what those are and be intentional about shifting them.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of us are how we grew up, right? You always make the comment, right? I grew up a poor kid. And,
Mhm.
I grew up with, my parents we weren't poor, but they were very thrifty, right? And kind of that more of, I would say, I grew up with more of that, like, hoard the money and save the money and no risk and like protect,
Yeah.
protect, protect, right? But
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
early experiences really shape and mold us, I think, more than we realize.
No, I agree. I know, again, I spent some time living with my grandparents, and more than one occasion, it was always the rich are getting richer, at our expense and stuff like that. So you start looking at people with money as criminals, or they
Mhm.
screwed somebody over to get it or something like that. And it's even goes into Christianity, looking at, well, in order to be a good Christian, you've got to give all your money away and be poor. And that is not the case whatsoever. But as a kid, you hear this stuff and you start, well, I'm not supposed to be wealthy if I'm going to be a good person. Right. And
Right.
that was some of the stuff that I took away. And what I realized, after you start deprogramming yourself from that, is no, living that life of abundance, even going back to Christianity, your father in heaven, right? He wants you, just like your earthly father probably wants you to be blessed. I saw some memes popping up that your dad is really the only guy in the world that wants you to do better than him.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same way with your father in heaven, right? It's one of those where those conditionings as a child, what you hear, and it sinks in, and so you start thinking that, and that really holds you back because you're
Mhm.
almost afraid to become successful, or afraid financially, or you just accept the fact that death and taxes, right? You're just going to pay taxes and nothing you can do about it, so you don't look for a solution. Same thing with bills and things like that. Well, everybody focuses on the monthly payment. Everybody has debt. Well, no, that's not always the case. And so really start shifting over, and losing some of those bad financial habits,
Mhm.
can really go a long way in freeing you, and just again challenging you, the viewer, you, the listener, to kind of keep an open mind when it comes to, learning about money. Oh, it's too good to be true, so it's got to be wrong or what. No,
Yeah.
do your homework.
Mhm.
Don't accept it at face value, but do your due diligence, but keep an open mind,
Right.
and really looking at what are the wealthy doing, for their money, right? How do they keep their money? How do they pay less in taxes, or how do they have multiple streams of income? What is multiple streams of income? What does that
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
Do I have to go get 5 jobs? I hate my one job. Why would I go get four more? Right? No, it's not
Yeah.
it at all. Right. So yeah, it's that financial conditioning, and we kind of follow in our parents' footsteps, and really looking at ways to kind of break free from
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. And I think some people, even, I know I've done a little bit of the opposite of my parents. Like, they were super stingy. So I'm like, let's just indulge, right? So I've had to retrain myself to go, you know, I've totally had to reprogram my brain from,
Mhm.
kind of going the full opposite end of the spectrum of my parents. So yeah,
Yeah.
but recognizing that, right? Awareness is the first step to any type of change. And so
Yeah.
recognizing that and saying, what am I going to do to reprogram the brain? So,
Yep.
all
Exactly.
right. So the
Exactly.
next thing is the comfort zone, right? Settling versus striving. So some
Big
people
issue.
are, yeah, stuck in that financial comfort zone, right? So they don't want to take risks. They fear failing, right? Versus the people that are in an environment of growth where they, are intentional. They can see opportunities and they lean
Mhm.
in and they learn, right? And inspire others to also shift their financial behavior. And I think, I feel like this is just life as an entrepreneur too. Like, the entrepreneur mindset is so different from the 9 to 5 mentality,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I feel like we see that in money too, right? So, oh, I got the pension coming, I got the regular, you know, paycheck and job security, and people can just get comfortable and not open
Well,
their eyes to the opportunity.
yeah, and I think that's a lot of it too. It's, where's your thermostat set? I mean, if you think you're worth $60,000 a year, that's probably what you're going to make. And once you hit it, you're going to be comfortable, right?
Mhm.
You think, oh, 150,000. I know when I was younger, first, in college and graduating, I never thought I would make six figures, because
Mhm.
nobody in my family up to that point had made six figures.
Mhm.
And, really looking at that, once I cracked through that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've arrived." Well,
Yeah.
when you think you've arrived, what do you tend to do? You tend to take your foot off the gas, right? Because
Mhm.
this is where I was going. And that's why it's so critical that if you want to have that success, if you want to have that lifestyle that, it seems like everybody on social media has, where they're just flying around the world, right? Social media, for the most part, is not 100% accurate. I'm just going to say that when it comes to lifestyles and things like that. But going back to what we were talking about, looking at those comfort zones, once you hit a peak, it's so critical that you say, okay, what are we going to go to next? Because the
Mhm.
last thing you want to do is not achieve 100% of your potential,
Right.
right? And that happens to so many people. It's the I'm going to do it one day, or eventually it's going to happen, or yeah, I'll get around to that. And the next thing you know, your time's up, right? And you never know,
Mhm.
right? You never know when that's going to happen, and you missed out on that opportunity. Not only that, as a parent, I want to show my kids um, the best version of me,
Yeah.
right? That I'm still learning. I'm getting ready to turn 55 here in a few months. And it's one of those things that I don't want it to be like, okay, well, yeah, he's not growing anymore. He's still my best days are still in front of me. You
Yeah.
don't want to be that peaked in high school guy, right? Where you keep talking about like Polk High, Al Bundy, keep talking about the football days back in the day. No, I mean, so that's where that comfort zone is, but that even applies financially to you know, if you're making 100 or 150 or $200,000 a year, why aren't you making 400 or
Yeah.
500,000? What's
Yeah.
holding you back? And
Yeah.
that's sometimes a hard question to look at. "Oh, I'm going to have to work harder." Well, maybe not. Work smarter, right? Not
Mhm.
harder. And look for alternative streams of income to what you're currently doing. That's one of the things that, with our company that we've got on the financial side, we've built that for our reps. There's, 5 or 6 different ways they're earning income
Mhm.
talking to the same client, helping them out if the client chooses to do whatever. But it's bringing those solutions to the table rather than just having one thing that we do and then sending them down the road to the next person, the next company.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's really constantly evaluating that, how can I maximize my time? How can I do better?
Mhm.
How can I be more efficient with my
Mhm.
time? And those are the things that it's all again going back to that mindset and not allowing yourself to fall into that comfort zone, which so many of
Yeah.
us do, right?
Yeah. 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 We see it all the time for sure. And then,
Mhm.
disaster strikes, and then those are the people that, are no longer comfortable.
Yeah,
So,
and it's typically an overnight kind of deal
mhm.
too. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so the last point we want to talk about is wealth builders versus wealth consumers, right? And so
mhm,
some people are out there looking to build that long term wealth, right? Through investment, saving, you know, starting companies, leveraged income, right? But some people, while doing that, are also consuming the wealth right when it comes in. So, and I've been, and this was my biggest problem. I'll just, be real about that. Is as my income increased, so did my lifestyle. And it was
mhm.
like
That
money
happens a
burned a
lot.
hole through my hand. It's like as soon as it
Yep.
came in, I'm like, where do I spend it? And that's been a major mindset shift for me. And unfortunately, a lot of learning the hard way, to get my mind in the right place of, truly, I mean, doing the things we teach, right? Creating that spending plan, building that emergency fund, not just $1,000, but truly having that, what do you call it, John? A war chest, right?
Yeah.
For,
Yeah.
those hard times, and building that up. But, it's so important to not just go, okay, how do I make the money, but also really being intentional once it comes in the door, that you have a plan
Mhm.
for your money, that you get your money working for you.
Yeah. One of the analogies I learned a few years ago, and I thought it was fantastic. I didn't invent it. I forget where I read it. But it equates the money that you generate to, to seeds, right?
Mhm.
And you can eat those seeds and you get nourishment for that day or whatever the case may be, or you
Mhm.
can plant those seeds, right? And those seeds do what? Well, you plant a single kernel of corn, it's going to grow into a stalk of corn. There's going to be an ear, maybe even two of ears of corn that are going to have a whole bunch of new seeds, right? So
Mhm.
you've just drastically multiplied the number of seeds you have. So that's what, building wealth is about. Now you've got to be able to balance some and eat some today, right? But you
Right.
want to make sure that you're planting those seeds and not eating all of your seeds today. And unfortunately, that's what happens, especially in America, because we are such a consumer society. And that's what it's all about with our marketing. You see, it's always buy, buy, buy. That's what our economy is based on, is you going into debt and buying things on monthly payments and things like that. So what happens is, as we get older, we get tired, you don't want to work as hard, or you get physically, something happens, you're on disability or whatever, and all of a sudden you can't. Or if you've got a company and their income goes away because you haven't been saving those seeds and
Mhm.
letting those seeds multiply, but you've been eating all those seeds with the boats and the lifestyle and the flashy cars and the big house, the McMansion, right? Now you're in a situation where you're at risk of losing it all,
Mhm.
because that income stream's gone, or whatever the case. And that's the big difference between being intentional about your money and building wealth, and I'm talking generational wealth, or
Mhm.
just consuming it and looking like you're wealthy.
Yeah.
Okay, I would rather have the big fat bank account,
Mhm.
and I'm using the term bank as savings, wealth, and
Yeah.
things like that,
Yeah.
rather than, hey, look at my flashy, $500,000 car.
Yeah.
And it's like, some people want to look like they have it all, and typically those people don't, or they've got a very short term mentality when it comes to money. Now there are some people that just, they have multiple streams of income and things like that. But that also, now that I've said that, kind of ties to building income streams. And that's what people need to focus
Mhm.
on. You
Yeah.
know, with wealth anymore, it's not about building just an asset that you spin down later in life. It's about building an asset that creates income streams. And you want to have
Mhm.
multiple income streams. So what does that mean? You want to have multiple assets.
Mhm.
You may have investments that pay you out a certain amount. You may have real estate that pays you out a certain amount every month. You may have a business that pays you out a certain amount every month. But you want to diversify, just like you diversify when you're building wealth, you diversify your portfolio. You want to diversify your income streams as well. I mean, so many people, in the network marketing world are finding this out very abruptly, that all of a sudden this
Mhm.
thing that they were building, this business they were building was going to pay them forever and make them rich. Is all of a sudden overnight that income's going away completely or cut back dramatically. And now what do they do? Hopefully
Right.
they've been saving some of those seeds, but the key is to not let yourself get in that situation. If that happened, unfortunately, it has happened to a lot of people, but don't let it
Mhm.
defeat you. Again, go back to that
Mhm.
mindset that we talked about earlier. And, I've done it once, I can do it again, but learn from that mistake,
Yes.
learn from that, that situation, right? Learn from the pain and don't let it happen again.
That's right. Well, mic drop there. I know that
Boom,
preaches to
mic
me.
drop.
So,
No, it's the truth. We've
um,
all been there,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We've all been there. I know, back in the day, I cashed out money out of my 401k when I was younger because there wasn't much in there. But you look at, what did that really, cost me? Oh my gosh! You look at the opportunity cost, and
Mhm.
it's like, I can't believe I did that. I mean, we all go back. If you could go back and
Mhm.
talk to your 18-year-old self about
Right.
saving money and making money moves, it would be a much different journey, right? Because
Mhm.
you've learned through pain and experience.
Yeah.
Well, the key is to adjust from the lesson, right?
Yeah.
Don't just continue to do the same things. You want to say, okay, I'm never going to go into massive debt again. I'm never only going to have one stream of income. I'm never going to
Mhm.
have that broke mindset of I can't afford it, but I'm also not going to go into a debt and pretend that I can afford it just to squeak by on the monthly payments. So it's a big mindset shift. There's a lot of great books out there, that we do our book club and stuff like that. And if you folks, you listeners, ever want to join our book club, reach out to us. We do it every Wednesday, and usually it's on money topics or business topics. And we take a great group of people, a lot of clients. Some of the people work with us. Some are just business owners, or some are just everyday people, just like you. Reach out to us. You're more than welcome to join us as we go through these different books as well. So, yeah, good
Awesome.
topics. But just to kind of recap, number one is that mindset. Scarcity versus abundance, right? Have that abundance mindset.
Mhm.
Number two is that financial conditioning from your early experiences with money. Recognize that and realize that, that's probably impacting who you are and how you are today. I love how you shifted your parents from thrifty to stingy in your second comment. So there's still some bitterness in there, I think. And I'm just kidding. And then, number three is, don't fall into the trap of settling in your comfort zone. Don't settle. You've
Mhm.
only got so many days, make sure you're out there making it happen. And then lastly, be a wealth builder, not a wealth consumer. Make sure it's a spending plan, right? Spend some today, but make sure you're storing up those seeds for later in life,
Mhm.
and you're having those multiply for you, because have your money working for you. Don't just let it sit there and go out the door. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
Amen to that. Good stuff. All right. Hope you guys got value from this today. Would love to hear your comments in below in the comments, or if you're watching this live in the chat, or however you want to reach out to us. And get your free wealth map. Reach out, joncleaver.com or wendyleeonline.com. We both have links for you to get your free financial plan, so you can set yourself up for future success. So, all right. Thanks for being with us. Bye, Jon.
Make sure you like and subscribe, guys, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.